Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Traveling with Vaughn. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic that is happening in the U.S. quite heavily. We're going to talk about if your loved one is deported or in deportation status. But this video is a bit more specialized for if your loved one is deported. What are your options? What can you do? And how to move forward. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and click the bell. So you guys, I have my notes. So I will be looking down, but again, I definitely want to make sure I cover everything that's important that you need to know in regards to if your loved one is picked up due to deportation. All right, so the first thing, when your loved one is picked up from being deported, first of all, you gotta breathe. I know it's a lot. It's very impactful. It's very stressful, and you don't know what to do in that very moment. You just gotta take a second to breathe. Sometimes you could tell people are getting overwhelmed with emotion, which is acceptable because what is happening. Because now you've noticed in the news or in the economy now, people are being picked up at their immigration or their green card interviews, which is beyond crazy to me, especially if they have something on file. So make sure that you stay calm, you stay cool, you stay collective, and then you just figure out your next step. So my next step would be, I would say for you is deportation is not necessarily in the end. I know that it's the thought of that is overwhelming, and you can also feel as if you're powerless. But at the same time, it's not necessarily the end. I will also say that in regards to your loved one being deported, the first thing that you should do, I would say, is speak to an immigration attorney. But before you speak to the immigration attorney, you need to find an immigration attorney that specializes in deportation. Right? Because there are attorneys that specialize with that. So if anyone in the community that is dealing with a loved one that's being deported or has been deported and has a lawyer that does deportation, please put the information in the notes below so that we'll have it as a team. Also, what you want to do is you need to gather all the paperwork, right? So you need to gather your removal notice, if there is one, immigration documentation, criminal record, marriage certificate, everything that you can find in regards to the person that helped build the case that you provide to the immigration attorney that does deportation. I would strongly encourage you to do that first, okay? Now, once you find a deportation immigration attorney, a deportation lawyer, and that's their specialty, make sure that's their specialty. They can help with a deportation defense and even appeals so that your loved one will not be deported. Next, what you also need to request is an FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act request. It gives you access to their immigration files, which is super important. So because they're in deportation status or they're in some deportation camp, God forbid, at least you'll be able to have access to what they were working on prior to them being deported, if they were working on some type of filing. Okay, so that's very important that you can provide to the deportation. And again, I keep saying deportation specialized attorney. Next, check for re-entry options. There could potentially be re-entry options for the individual. They may qualify for the return under a waiver, a humanitarian parole, or a motion to reopen their case. Okay, because if their case is reopened, then they have to be taken out of deportation status. Okay. Document everything. Make sure you keep receipts, dates, emails, calls. Every detail count when building a case, right? So you want to make sure you have all this vital information, which is very, 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 very important when dealing with deportation, okay? All right, so another important thing, depending on the case, depending on if the individual's case, let's kind of like move a little bit forward. You can file a motion to file a motion to reopen or repeal, apply for a waiver, and it's an inadmissibility. You can also reapply for a legal entry after a certain period of time. That's if they're still here in deportation status or even if they are deported. Explore humanitarian parole if there's an emergency. Or use a new immigration policy change that's coming in 2025. They're still working on that policy. As you know, the Trump administration is constantly making changes in regards to immigration. So make sure you stay abreast of all of that information going forward. Now, I hope this information has helped. Again, we are a community and I'm learning as I go, just as you learn as you go. And there's some people who are in the thick of it that experience it. My heart goes out to a lot of people who are dealing with this. And I just want to be here to provide as much information I can and support where I can. So if you are having a situation in this community in regards to immigration and you have any experiences or advice, please put your information in the comments below, because we would love to hear about it. We don't expose any of your loved one's name, and just for all intents and purposes of their safety, but we would like to know so we all can stay empowered, informed, educated, and we can help each other. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.